Welcome back to a special episode of Saturday Morning Coffee, because it's Sunday Morning Coffee. I am returning with my mom. Mom, say hi.
Morning, everyone.
That's my mom. And then the woman who was practically my second mom growing up, Linda, she's joining us because she had some questions and wanted to follow up from the childhood and the mom episodes. Linda, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody.
A little bit more. Linda's actually also going to be the officiant at my wedding next year. So she's a very special person in my life, who I have lots of memories, good and bad with. Yeah. All right. So we're following up on these episodes. And Mom, I want to say this is actually very appropriate that it just happened to be Father's Day that we were able to do this episode, because Mom has, like I said previously, pretty much been a dad to me growing up. Like, she did teach me how to pee on a tree and everything. So I'm glad we could be doing this episode today.
I did also teach you how to shave.
Yes. The typical father things. Yeah.
Girl's got to do what a girl's got to do, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we're all drinking different coffees, and I didn't jot them down, so we're not going to worry about that. They're all just pod coffees today, though. So, anyways, Linda, what did you want to follow up on first?
I was just, when I listened to the other two podcasts that you did with your mom, I was just I saw a lot of correlation between some of your, I guess, mannerisms and things that you did and how, like, your perspective looked to me, how the perspective of my son is. And it's funny because, well, he's an only child, but so technically he's the oldest as well.
And the middle and the youngest. He's got the best of everything.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's correlation because of that or because of just life existing, as it were. So I was kind of curious on just some stuff. So, like, you talked about just some struggles that you had that even I didn't know about when you were in high school. Going into being a young man. So my question to you would be, what did you do to help you get through the struggles you had, or, trauma existing, or just sadness, or like all of the things, if that makes sense?
A lot of it was escapism. So, like, Harry Potter books, Harry Potter movies, all that, just like diving into that world was something that was easy for me to, like, escape into and, like, distract myself from. Video games too, although that was kind of like that was just as much like a lifeline into having, like, some kind of, like, social life with friends. I don't think I really dealt with it all that well. I think, Mom, I bet do you think that I used partying in high school as a way to deal with things? Did you ever think that?
No, because you had a handful of parties, but it wasn't like an every weekend thing. They were, when they were here, they were big, but they weren't on a regular basis. I think you checked out, like, by hanging out with your friends, and, like, you did a lot of video games in the basement, and you only had a handful of friends, but you were good with them, like, even when you guys went through your tough time. So
yeah,
the issues with life, I think you just checked out of them, and, like, you're a kid. You don't know how to deal with that stuff. You don't know how to let it go or talk about it. I mean, even as an adult going through counseling, it's hard to find the right words to deal with your emotions, you know?
I'm glad you didn't think that I used partying as, like, as a form of dealing with it, because I didn't. That was purely...
I love your sister, but have you met the youngest?
Yeah.
That's who deals with partying.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think part of how I dealt with it was also knowing that my friend group all also shared these, like, feelings of depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts. I think all, like, the one thing that all the core little group that of us that did hang out in high school, in junior high, and to some extent, like, elementary school, we all shared those kind of same mental health struggles. And I think maybe just like my perception is that kind of what brought us together was this like shared mental health struggles, and like we could just find solace in each other. But it did cause frustrations between us too, because we were all dealing with our own mental health issues and then trying to deal with each other's, and it wasn't the super like healthiest thing, and none of us really talked about it. So, but I think having that friend group helped a little bit in dealing with some of that stuff. Like I said, definitely not in a healthy way. We all went through cycles of like ostracizing one member for a few months at a time. Like we all experienced it at one point. And it was in high school when we realized that we were doing that, and we like managed to like stop it.
That was a really, really rough time.
Yeah.
Like you've seen it happening with the friends. And I remember like having conversations with you, and you were just like, this is just what happens. Everybody has to take a turn. And then when it was your turn to be ostracized, it was just awful. You were so sad, and there was just nothing I can do.
Yeah. And I think what it was is like the person who was getting ostracized was like having the worst outbursts at that time, and it like got to be like too hard to deal with each other. This also makes it sound really awful, but obviously we were just teenagers, like you said, who didn't know how to process emotions, and sure as hell had not been processing them before high school all that well either. And so I don't think any of us in that core group like dealt with our home struggles in a healthy way. So I guess the best answer I have for how I dealt with this was just push through, and then try to get to college, and then college was its own beast, and eventually just therapy.
So on a funny note, if you really want to understand a crazy teenager, go watch Inside Out 2.
Yeah.
I heard that was really good.
It was. We just both happened to watch it and not know that the other one had watched it on the same day in different towns. And he starts telling me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we just went. And I went with my teenager, Emily. And even at the end of it, she was like, I did not like that anxiety character. And me as the mom was like, that's her. Like, oh my God, that's what she's going through. Like, it was a great cartoon. I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's interesting. Yeah, because I just saw something yesterday, and I was like, kind of made a mental note to myself that I wanted to take King David to go see it.
Yeah.
It was really good. I think it was even better than the first one. So the first one I felt like was all about just like processing and accepting that you have these emotions, and to the same extent there is some of that in the second one, but it was much more focused on like understanding the sense of self and like accepting that you are kind of all parts of this. So it was really good. Faith and I both really liked it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mom, did you have any follow-up on that before we move on?
No, honestly, that was such a tough time to like, I mean, I was going through my own struggles and going through counseling and stuff. So trying to be the best version of me and not knowing who that was. So, I could have been a better parent to help you, but I too was doing my own struggles. So yeah. I was doing the best I could under the circumstances, and sometimes that's not the right thing, but that's all we can do, really.
Well, to be fair, I did my best to hide it from everyone, so. Yeah. All right, Linda, what's next?
When you say, so when did you start counseling as an adult, and is it something that you still currently do?
2021, I went to counseling again. I don't think I never went in college. And then when I moved to Texas, and I was like having social struggles, like coming in the tail end of pandemic, I went back to I went to therapy because I keep saying back because we did go to therapy very briefly as when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
We did
as
family therapy.
preteen, we were really struggling as a family, and I felt like I was failing, and I didn't know what was happening, but it was just your guys' hormones.
Mm-hmm. And then I had a lot of therapy this last year because I didn't want to get into another serious relationship without having done some therapy for a lot of different things, including like dealing with trauma from past relationships And I did end up in the relationship, but that before counseling started. But that was because the first counselor that I could work with was months and months away before. So it wasn't too long after the relationship started that I managed to get into therapy. But we did it for, I don't know, like 5 months, I think. I went on a weekly basis, and then we tapered out, and then I just check in every couple of months to say if I need to come back or not. And I feel like those 5 months did a lot for being able to process different things and to accept things that have happened in the past and like understand how to deal with stuff. So it did a lot for me. And I haven't felt like the need to go back. Like I don't feel like I've been struggling as much as I was. So.
Okay. You had asked your mom a question. You asked her if she could go back and how would she do things different? What would she do different? So you asked her what her perspective is. Mm-hmm. If you could go back and have your mom do things different, what would you have her do?
Don't worry, I won't be offended by anything.
I was going to make a joke about it'd be nice to have a dad.
That's what I am. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I think I had enough. I think I had enough butch women in my life. I think I had a dad in there somewhere.
I mean, Linda was the bossy one.
Yeah.
That's enough out of you. Pick your ice cream. Let's go.
Gosh. I don't know if I necessarily would have wanted Mom to do anything different. I wish that I could have been more like better or more open about like struggles so that I could have like gotten help earlier. I think this is maybe something I forgot to share last time, but if I could have had less responsibility growing up, that would have been nice, because I think the worst part, I think, of having all this responsibility was that I had less to sometimes no opportunity from my perspective, mm-hmm. of socialization opportunities, with other kids my age. And so that made it incredibly hard for me to be friends with, or even just talk to people my age. Like people that were younger and people that were older, had no problem with. That was easy. I could. Mm-hmm. It was so easy to be a freshman and have a conversation with a senior. And it was so easy to be a senior and have conversations with like freshmen or sophomores in my class. But being friends with people my exact age was incredibly difficult, because I always, I realized this towards the end of high school, was like that I feel like I was socially delayed in that, because I was so busy in the home. I felt like a homeschool kid. I didn't know how best to socialize or talk with people my age. And I could talk to people younger because of my siblings, and I could talk to people older because I had my mom, I had you, Linda, I had all these other people in my life that were adults. So I knew how to have adult conversations, and I knew how to have conversations with people younger than me. I guess I'm just being cyclical here, but I think that's the biggest thing that I wish could have been different. Was I wish that I didn't have as much responsibility, so that I could have been better in social situations, because it was like that social development, I feel, carried over all the way through college. Like especially like when I got to be an older college student, everyone just called me the dad of the fraternity, because like, I was responsible and blah, blah, blah. But also the way I like talked. Like I really remember, I got made fun of because I ran into a sophomore when I was a senior. I ran into him on the street, and I ended up asking how his school was going and his academics and stuff, which seems, in the perspective now, that makes sense, whatever. given everything that had happened. But at the time, I got made fun of because I was like, who the hell does that? Like, you guys are supposed to be like these really good friends, supposed to be in this fraternity together, and you're asking him about, oh, how's your school going?
It seems like such a normal thing to ask
right,
to
I know.
me.
But I got made fun of because it was like, oh, that's such a dad move, instead of talking to him about literally anything else. And I was like, I don't know. So yeah,
Well, I think that everything you've said is completely fair. Like, there were 4 of you and 1 of me and no family. And you did take on, like, an incredible amount of responsibility for us to survive. For me to go to work and put food on the table. And it was not easy. It wasn't easy for you to have to take that on. And it wasn't easy for any of us. And, like, we wouldn't have made it had you not done that. But you're right. Like, you needed more time. But as a teenager, I constantly, too, was like, Michael, go. Mm-hmm. Go do something bad. Go do something so that I can yell at you and ground you. Like, please, like, just be a kid. But by that point, like, it was so instilled in you, like, I have to be responsible. Like, if there's food on my plate, I can't leave leftovers. If the chores need to get done, we have to do them. If, it was already just so deep inside you that it was almost impossible to break. And then you went to college and you came home after a month and you're like, D's get degrees. I was like, shut up. When I said get in trouble, I didn't mean that. That didn't last long.
It didn't even last a semester.
But it was very scary.
Yeah. I think I honestly partially said that just to fuck with you.
Well, you did good. Because you left and I was just like, what is he doing? This is so expensive for him to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, that's the only thing I could really point to is just wishing there might have been like a little bit less responsibility, so that I could have been better in social situations with people my age. Yeah, because I think it drastically affected my ability to make friends with people, both, as a kid, as a teenager, and in college. I think I've gotten over that hump now. It was just it's just like it's just a learning curve of how to socialize with other people in your age group. But, we'll see after I move to Boise how that goes, because there's been no one my age in Moscow since I moved back there. So that has been rough. But that's all I have to say on that one, I think.
Fair. So, someday you may or may not have kids, or, just even knowing you have lots of, nieces and nephews coming out the woodwork. Mm-hmm. What do you want them to take into life? Like, what do you want to impart on them? What do you want them to know is important or to understand? What do you want your legacy to them to be, or to your own kids?
Don't worry, Mom. I am gonna have kids now.
Because you're gonna be an awesome dad.
Yeah. That honestly stresses me out so much. Like, I know that I wouldn't do things like my dad did. And I've had, plenty of conversations, and I know I'm a different person, but to be honest, like, growing up and you guys saying that I had, the same mannerisms as my dad, haunts me. Absolutely haunts me. It still stresses me out. Aww. Like, sometimes, like, if I'm playing video games and Faith is around, or I feel like I'm being a piece of shit. I need to get up. I need to, do something else. I need to, clean the house, or, I need to not, if I'm sitting here playing video games, like,
well, I'm not a good person. Those aren't mannerisms, though. I'm talking like
I
facial
just mean, like,
gestures.
Yeah, like, all those things make me think that I am my dad. Mm-hmm. So all those comparisons I got growing up, maybe that is another thing I'll take away. All those comparisons I got just made me think, like, okay, I have to work extra hard to not be like my dad.
Okay, so your dad wasn't always a crappy person, but he fought drugs, and drugs won over and over and over. So in his times of sobriety, he was a good person. He went to work, like, he did love you guys. He also didn't have, like, the best hands-on role model. Your grandpa Bob was a really good man. He worked really hard, but your dad missed a lot of important things growing, like, like being told, I love you. It seemed so small, but it affected him so deeply. Like, he was a grown-ass adult. We were married. By the time he can remember, his mom finally said, I love you. Like, that affects people. People need to be told, not just shown. So, not everything of your dad sucks. Mm-hmm. But drugs win. Drugs win more than not, unfortunately.
What I feel like I hear him saying is that the comparison that people made between him and his dad, what stresses him out is that he's going to become too much like his dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, eventually, he's going to be doing the drugs. He's going to be making the decisions.
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to
Not
fall into
specifically
that, but...
drugs, but, like, when you make the comparison, or at least what I hear him saying is there's going to be too much overlap.
Yeah, like that stressed me out growing up. It was just like these comparisons, you know. And today I like fight that. I was like, no, and like I'm already compared manneristically and facially to my dad and build wise, whatever. Like I can't pick up certain characteristics that I then see him today having because I associate those with the negative things that I saw or understood growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, things that I would want my kid to have. Yesterday, I actually talked on this podcast about this frustration I have with college students moving out of their apartments because they just throw everything away. Perfectly good couches, entire cases of food, a butchered deer meat, like all these things. And I'm like, I know that someone's dad worked their ass off and got that deer for that kid, and then this guy just threw it in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Several packages of perfectly fine deer meat. And there was a 12-pack case of Costco tomato sauce and all these beans and stuff. And the food donation bin was half a block over. Ugh. Literally, you could almost see it from the dumpster, and it pissed me off. It pisses me off every single semester and mostly every single year because you can go around Moscow and Pullman and you can, and this happens in San Marcos too, and really every college town. These college students move out and all the food just gets thrown away, perfectly good couches that could have been donated, all these dressers and cooler, just everything you can imagine. That they're I don't want to bother with taking this with me. I'm just going to throw it away instead of donating it, instead of being focused on the community. And this is like kind of like two core things: is community oriented and an ethic of care. Those are the two things that I really want to instill in my kids, and just like think about the people around you. It's not just about you. Mm-hmm. I think we are incredibly self-centered as a society, and I just would like to see more people concerned about their neighborhood, more people concerned about their community, whether that's like the physical community you participate in and live in, or whether it's the physical community that you live in or the digital community that you participate in. Just be concerned and like focused on how can I be a member of this community and how can I contribute. So just think about the other people around you. And the other part is that ethic of care, where I'm just like, just care. Just what you do it in a way that you are concerned about the well-being of others. And again, just like it's not being so self-centered. And the ethic of care, I think, comes a lot from my time in student affairs, where everything we do was supposed to be from this like ethic of care. Like we are, we're student professionals not student professionals, but student affairs professionals, where our job is entirely taking care of college students. And so we need to do everything with an ethic of care and understanding that they all come with their own struggles and how can we best support them. And so I think those are the two main things that I would like to see like in my future kids. But if they're a piece of shit, then,
Well, that's easy to do, though. That's just led by example. Mm-hmm. So, from the time that they're small, you're doing you're giving yourself to the community, and they're participating by being with you. And then they get old enough that they start also being able to do that with you. And so it's just instilled in them from a very young age.
Yeah. volunteering too. I'm gonna make sure that my kids have plenty of volunteer opportunities before they have to do it for their senior graduation project in high school.
Yeah.
Just to instill it in them that it's not like this weird thing that only certain people do, only church groups or something, you know. It's like, no, we should all be giving back and contributing to the community. So yeah, I think that's my answer.
I like that. I like the concept behind just like care about other people and how your impact matters. It was it's funny because when we were on the cruise, we had gone. I actually told this story in HPO University at work, and everybody this was like, I don't know, kind of the pinnacle of my like presentation, and everybody thought it was really great because the concept of impact mattering, you know, kind of, it was like, oh wow, because we had gone on this excursion, and the excursion was through the cruise ship. And I remember on the way out there, it took us like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to this kind of remote beach area in Puerto Vallarta, or well, I guess it was outside of Puerto Vallarta. And I mean, took our time, watched this really cool show, had a great dinner. Well, on the way back, I knew that we were late because we were speeding. We were going way faster than we were to get out there. And it took us about 30 minutes to get back to the ship. And, you know, I'm the kind of person that when anything is happening in life, I've taken my hypervigilance and turned it into something good. But I'm always going to be somebody who's like looking at all of the pieces and trying to think ahead, and that's just my personality. But I'm looking around, going, "Yep, we're late." Like the crew is running, the boat is speeding. Like everything about the trip there was completely different from the trip back. So I was like, yeah, we're late, definitely, for sure. Well, we come in like a NASCAR boat, you know, skidding sideways. And they make this announcement, and they're like, hey, we're not even going to go to the beach. You don't have to get up on the dock. There's no walking. We're just going to put you guys on the side of the ship. And I was like, yeah, we're late.
Really late.
So we pull up to the side of the ship, and they've opened this little teeny tiny door, and they just have this rickety little dock. I'm like, no. I saw a video about that once. I saw a video. I don't want to. There's propellers down there. So I get up on the rickety dock, and up I go. Well, we get in there, and so leaving the cruise ship, I mean, they've got a metal detector. They're checking your passports. They have drug dogs. They have like all the things, right?
To leave the ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they want to make sure that you're not like leaving with anything, and then like coming back on, it's all the same stuff, just backwards, but that you're not bringing anything on. And so we're getting back on the ship, and like there was no drug dog. They barely wanted us over. I think they kind of glanced at the passports. I was like thinking, man, if I would have, brought someone else back with me. So we get on there, and it was funny because I mean it's just kind of like mass chaos. Like they're just trying to, and there were two boats full of people, to give you a little bit of perspective, and each boat had about 100 people on them or so.
Oh wow.
And so they're trying to shuffle these couple hundred people out of 5,000. This was a huge cruise ship, 5,000 passengers.
Dang.
So they're kind of shuffling us on there and just trying to get us through this line, get us in this queue, and get us, get moving. And I had met the captain a couple nights before, but I look over and there's a man who I'm assuming was, the co-captain. Big, tall guy, bald guy, and he just had the sternest look on his face. He's just standing there just looking at everybody and everything. He was right behind us. And I was like, yeah, he's just, watching to make sure everything gets done. And so, I, taking all of this in, I just looked over at King David and I said, hey, if you ever feel insignificant, I want you to remember the time that you held up a cruise ship with 5,000 passengers.
Nice.
And the co-captain behind us, like, he smiled and he started laughing and he just nodded his head and he goes, you're right. And then he walked off. So I think the concept behind imparting, how much your impact can matter.
Yeah.
So
That's funny.
Wow, you're like a professional speaker there. Nice little anecdote.
So I just want to say that even my coffee is just pods. It's pretty delicious.
I didn't say it wasn't. I just said we're all having different pods, and I didn't write everything down, so I'm not saying what we're drinking today. Usually I try to say like what I'm drinking on the Saturday morning coffee episodes. Give a little shout out, especially because I've been drinking like local coffees recently.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
I had one local coffee actually that I've been buying, and I talked to them the first time I saw them. I was wearing the Get Your Own Podcast shirt that I have. It's become like my Saturday my Saturday shirt. But I ended up talking to them about the podcast or whatever, and then I do Saturday morning coffee, yada yada. Very quick conversation, polite. I showed back up yesterday to buy more coffee, and they go, "Oh, you're the podcast guy." And I was like, yeah, I am. Thanks for remembering me. I was like, nice, and I bought some more coffee. He's like, "Oh, we got this new blend in." I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll try it." He's like, "It's really fruity." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, tried it, and I smelled it. Dang, it was some really good coffee. And so I'd already paid, and I was like, "Hey, can I actually get a cup of that? That smells really, really good. I'd love to, just have a cup of it today." And he goes, "Yeah, just take it. It's on the house." And I was like, dude just locked me in for life. Remembered my name. After one time of talking, he remembered me at a very brief conversation. Remembered that I had a podcast, and then gave me a free cup of coffee. I was like, that's how you get a lifetime customer. I'm sold. I'm going to be buying these guys. I will always have a bag of their coffee here. So I don't remember how I got onto that story, actually.
Because I mentioned that.
The coffee, yeah. So anyways, I'm sold on those guys, and I it. So they're probably gonna get a lot of shout outs on the Saturday morning coffee. So
nice.
Yeah.
Is your love language words of affirmation?
No. So it's don't get me wrong, I love being called good boy.
Oh Lord. At least it's not daddy.
I think it's acts of service. Mostly just because, like, God, I have a lot of shit to do at any given time, and if someone wants to do 10 minutes worth of dishes, that the amount of stress that gets relieved is just invaluable to me. Or if I can come home and I'm like, damn, Faith vacuumed. Hell yeah. That is, God,
You sound like
so
such
nice.
a girl.
I know, but
I'm proud of you.
I do. Yeah, I do all that. I've done all my house chores, and I've kept a very clean home my entire life. And we got Sissy almost a year ago now, and just having a dog means a lot more hair and stuff. And I just like things to look nice. I've put a lot of effort. It's been really tough to get to where I am in life, and so I just want to, I want a clean home, and I don't want my clothes covered in dog hair. And thankfully, we've fixed Sissy's hair. If your dog sheds a lot, give it one egg a morning, and let me tell you what, that clears its coat up right. I can cuddle with Sis, and I almost get no hair on me now. After just like 2 weeks of one egg a morning with her breakfast. Anyways, yeah, I just little acts of service goes a long ways in helping me feel better. Yeah, honestly, any of those love languages I respond pretty well to, because I don't think I've had a great history of receiving a lot of positive love in romantic relationships. So, yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking about, I wanted to do a follow-up question, something that I'd noticed when you were telling the story about the college kids leaving stuff behind, which we should really make a plan, Brandy, next year when Moscow and Pullman College end. Like, we should go up there and just clean house, because they like dumpsters overflowing with stuff. I've seen it before. It's insane.
Food banks could be loaded up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Insane. It's
You guys are getting my blood going
so
right
much.
now.
Okay, so to that point right there, I want to talk about that, right?
Okay.
Your emotion when it comes to waste.
Mm-hmm.
What it feels like to me is waste, because it's not just that. I feel like there was something else that you had referred to at one point
Food.
that I can't. Maybe food, or is do you think it's food, or do you think it's do you think it's the furniture, or do you think it's just overall waste? Because when you talk about that waste, just that specific situation, like I definitely like anger for sure, frustration, like I can see some emotion. So where do you think that emotion comes from when you think about waste, whether it's food or furniture or whatever it is?
So I can tell you the exact moment that this value was instilled in me.
Oh no, is it my grandmother?
Yes.
I have the letter.
You do have it?
Oh god, yeah.
Oh, okay, I really
For life.
Okay. So, when I was a very young child, I went to my great-grandmother's house and
In Boise?
Well,
was
she
she
had
at
a house in Orfino, that a summer house that they would come to.
Okay.
yeah. They like managed that one rest stop that has a trailer in the middle.
No,
of it.
you're confusing that with Aunt Pat.
Oh, okay. Anyways, I went there and I asked for a bowl of grapes. They were seeded grapes. Yuck, as a kid. And so I like hid them underneath. And my perception was that she asked if I wanted more, and I didn't want to say no. So she gave me more, and I threw them underneath the wheelbarrow again. And then she found them. And she made me write, I will not waste grapes at grandma's house 100 times as a very young child. And from
He was only like 6 or 7.
And from that moment on, I couldn't waste food. Absolutely, like if it was on my plate, I had to eat it. If like I doesn't matter how bad that food was getting in the fridge, like it would have to be covered in mold for me to get rid of it, like throw it away without
Even
eating
then,
it.
he would send me a picture and say, "Is this edible?" And I was like, "Gross!
You're like,
No."
it's not cheese. You can't just cut off the
I think
mold
there
and
was like
go
canned
with it.
meat that wasn't sealed properly and it was
Turned
green.
green, and he's
I was
like,
like,
"Is
do you
this
think I
edible?"
could eat this?
No, no.
Oh, you know what I was thinking about waste when it comes like just overall waste, because in the first podcast you guys had talked about you going through your stuff and just being like, I need to get rid of some stuff but I just can't. So that's where I was thinking it's not just necessarily food related, but I can understand where that traumatic event at 7 might instill some perspective on.
I think
waste.
and this goes into also being very aware that we were low income growing up, because
You know what this kid did one time? Linda. It was, you know how the school does the food bank, like you
You're talking
bring
about this kid, right?
Yeah, Michael.
Okay.
Okay, so you know how the school asked you to bring canned foods in for the low income families? We were low income, god damn it. We were low income. I had just filled the cupboards and he had wanted
know
to
the
take
story.
some food
I
and
remember- I
I
think
said,
I remember you telling
yes,
me the
I'll
story.
get some out of the cupboard. Well, I had to go to work and he wanted it that day. So he filled up his backpack.
With
When
the
I
food
came
you had
home and I
just
opened the cupboards
bought.
to make dinner, it was almost bare. And I was like so confused and I was like, where is our food? Like I just put food in this cupboard. All the canned foods were gone. And I was like, no way. Dude, I just got that from the food bank. Now I have to go back and get it because you just donated our food to the food bank that I just got for us. Like, he was like so proud of himself that he helped all these poor kids who needed food. And I'm like, we're those poor kids right now. Like, that's us. We needed that food and you just gave it away. He was really proud of himself. I was not.
So I was acutely aware, and apparently not acutely aware enough. But an example of this is like, I knew how little money other people had, and so like, all this waste angers me because it's like, you know, people have way less. Like, this is a perfectly good couch. This is, you know, a perfectly nice table. Or the number of TVs I seen just thrown away, but because they weren't gentle, they just like tossed them. They like, I would take those TVs and they were all broken. So I was like, all right, back in the dumpster it goes. But if they had been more gentle with those TVs, I'm sure that all of them worked because this was just a move out thing. And so it just, I look at it, I'm like, it's so wasteful and so much disregard for other people that it just really bothers me. And I remember like growing up where it did not matter how thirsty I was, I would not let someone buy me even a water from a gas station because I thought it was going to be too much of a burden on them to spend the dollar for a water. But I was just like, I knew that we had low money and couldn't afford to like spend it on frivolous things, and I didn't want to put that burden on other people. And that affects me today. Like, I'm even uncomfortable accepting like I don't even want to eat unless it's like a planned event, like to go over to someone's house and eat dinner. I don't even want to eat someone else's food. Like when Faith and her roommate, because Faith lives right below me in the apartment right underneath me. When they have me invite me over to, there's a standing invite to dinner, but I'm like, no, because that's your guys' food, and I don't want to, take up your leftovers and have you guys, put out because, I came over and I had a big old bowl of whatever. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just like stuck in this poverty mindset, I guess. That is from my childhood and knowing that we don't have a lot of money to spend on frivolous things. So, I think some of that don't waste mentality comes from that. Yeah.
So a very old school punishment has stuck with you for 21 years.
Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah. Simply. She made him, she said, you take this home and you finish it, and when you come back and see me, this better be finished. And he had to have it numbered, and she read it and make sure he didn't cheat the sentences. Like, he had to do it. That was the punishment. And I was like, Grandma, he's so little. And she's like, he's not that little. He wasted food. And I was like, well, I mean, she's right? There's a punishment for every crime. Okay.
It's funny. Mom didn't believe that this was a thing when we reconnected with great grandma. And I was like, I'm pretty sure we were driving down there one time. I was like, I'm pretty sure this grandma made me do this. And my mom was like, that doesn't sound like my grandma. I don't think she would do that. And we got down there and grandma was like, oh, yes, I did. I'll be right back. And she walked in, hobbled in the other room and pulled out the paper and was like,
she had it stored in her Bible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is interesting.
So that is the exact moment that the value of not being wasteful was instilled in me.
Okay.
I don't know how many people can point to an exact moment in time when a value was forced down their throat and stuck with them for the rest of their life.
You'd be surprised, bud.
Probably. Yeah, okay. What do you got else?
That was, I think that was everything.
That was it? You got all those notes for that?
I like taking notes.
Okay. Mom, do you have anything else then?
No, this has been a great time. I've had a lot of fun. It was interesting to see you be put on the spot, though, because, like, instantly this was about you. And I could tell by the expression on your face and a little bit of your hand gestures that you were like, oh, shit. Like, but I think you did good. Yeah. Like, you didn't hold back. Like, you, like I said, I'm not offended by anything that any of my children have to say. I own the fact that I wasn't perfect. I made mistakes. I still make mistakes, but I'm willing to accept them, and I'm willing to learn from them, and I'm willing to move forward. So I appreciate your honesty, even if it sucks for me. Like, it's true. It happened. I did the best I could, and it wasn't always perfect. And, I hope as you grow, as you and Faith get married and then bring on your children, that you take the good and the bad that you got from me, from your dad, from anybody who was an influence in your life. Don't be as bossy as Linda.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. But take those things and make your future even better. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be good.
It's funny that you said that, because there was a couple times where I looked at him and I was like, wow, he is really uncomfortable right now.
Yes.
He is super
I think most of it is like there are certain things, like I am totally willing to be very open and honest, but there are certain things I'm like, I don't want to go too deep and say this one thing, because it's like, I want to be honest on this podcast, but there are, once it's out there, you can't take things back,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just like, where do I draw that line? And also, I haven't been on the other end of an interview, and I think 2 years ago was the last time I was interviewed on a podcast. So, it's just, just not something I've been recently exposed to. of being questioned.
Well, this was cool then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a
Yeah.
good experience for you.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
These are the kind of Jesus. These are the kind of conversations that I started this podcast for. So,
Good.
yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, guys, for joining me.
Yeah, thank
For
you, Michael.
having fun.